Jen, can you just grab the link to the microsite and get ready to put it in the chat for me, please?
Yeah.
Good morning, by the way.
Morning.
Evening, Mohan.
Hi, good evening, good morning, good afternoon.
For Jan, it's 4 a.m. and for you, it's what? 6 p.m.?
It's
7?
5:45 p.m. Yeah.
I'm feeling so awake, surprisingly.
We can imagine.
Owen's got a sport coat on and everything for us today.
Yeah, I mean, last time we were in a fancy hotel, I had to get dressed up. I figure I may as well do the same.
Good call. Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. We're starting to get some numbers in. I still think we had a lot of registrations, so we'll still give this a couple more minutes. In the meantime, if you are interested in the multi-language option, it should work. And I should also let you all know that this is being recorded and that yesterday's recording and materials are on the microsite. So Jan, if you could put that link back in the chat, thank you very much. And while we wait, maybe you can poke around in there and make sure everything's working. Great idea, Samia. If you want to introduce yourself, please do put your information in the chat so we understand who's with us today. And we'll give this a couple more minutes before we get started. Okay, let's get underway. We're 5 minutes in now, so we have a very packed program today. I'm going to hand it over to our friend and colleague Isaiah to lead us into the beginning of the meeting. Isaiah, if you want to take control of the screen, please, you can go ahead and present.
Sorry, Isaiah, if you are speaking, you're on mute.
No, sorry, I had not unmuted, sorry. So thank you so much, Robert. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Today we'll be looking at the planning for the future, and I'll be taking you through the first 15 minutes for the icebreaker. So I just want to take you through a small exercise. Kindly jump to the next slide. So I'll be asking you some few questions and then, yes, so
Oh, that's I think the wrong deck. That's for the next session. So sorry, I think we were hoping you would share your screen. Let me just
okay,
try
let me just share. Let me just share. I hope you can see my screen now. First, I will start with this one and then I'll move to the other one that has the, I hope you can see the code.
Yes. If you can just put it in
Yes.
slideshow, Isaiah, then it'll be easier. Just in the top right hand side of the screen beside share.
Sure, thank you. So,
Thanks, Isaiah.
so we are going, thank you. So I'm going to take you through some few 3 questions and you can just scan the code and then it will link you to Menti, and then from there we will be able to go through some few questions just for the ice breaking and having some few catch up from the context where you are you are connecting from. I hope you are able to take the code. So I'll be now sharing the next. I'll be now sharing the next screen that now has the questions, which I hope most of you have already been able to connect. So when you are answering the first question, kindly write your country underscore and then the digital platform that you are using. So the first question is about where we are connecting from today, and then which digital programming system are you currently using or most familiar with? For example, Kenya underscore CPMS. So you can write your country and then underscore, then the platform that you are using. For those who had not scanned the code, you can use the code up there to connect. So we can see Palestine, Canada, Jordan, Nepal, Brazil. I'm only seeing the CPIMS, Trinidad and Tobago, CPIMS, thank you. Myanmar, UK. So here we can quickly see which regions are being represented in our global meeting and which systems we are using from different regions. Mozambique, Switzerland, Nigeria, thank you so much. Iraq, thank you. China, thank you. Bangladesh, thank you. We have about 44 members who have joined, and thank you. Moldova, thank you. Brazil, Somalia, Indonesia, thank you so much. So I'll be moving to the second question. And the second question is asking you to name two people. The technical lead you have often turned to for support or insight when navigating your digital programming. For example, maybe Primero, CPMS Plus, GBVMS Plus. So I just want to see the people that you are connected to when you are looking for the technical support, or people who are directly supporting you while doing your implementations. Janani, thank you. Mohan, thank you. We want to see who will. Robert Janani, thank you so much. Wow, Isaiah, thank you. Amadou Jan, thank you. Robert, thank you so much. This is interesting. Ali, thank you so much. Wellington, Robert Jan, Mamadou. Owen, thank you so much. Simeon, Janani, yes, thank you. I think the names are coming from all the regions, and I can see all the regions have been represented. Can also see Ajit. Ajit, you have been remembered. Thank you so much for your support. And also for the great work that you are doing within the CPMS implementations. Pavel, thank you. Thank you so much. Who had the highest, the highest? I think it's Jan. Is it Jan or? I think Jan, you are the one leading with the highest number of names appearing on the screen. So that shows how you are familiar within the region and how your support is appreciated within the regions. Thank you so much. Lama, Jack. Thank you so much. So I will be moving to the, okay, so the names are still coming in. Karimawa, thank you. Elfie, thank you so much. So I'll be moving to the next slide. Georgie, thank you. So I'll be moving to the next slide, and the next slide is asking you to, if you had to describe your digital programming journey in one word, what will it be? Just try to describe your digital programming in one word. Change, transformative, support, thank you so much. Inspiring, thank you. Supportive, thank you. Fruitful, thank you. I think for the last one, I think maybe 2 or 3 people can just like raise their hands and then pick one of your word and then tell us why you thought maybe it is fruitful or maybe inspiring or maybe interesting. So if you are interesting to share the reason why you chose that word, just raise your hand and then we can give you like a minute to just share your experience. Challenging. I'll be happy to hear from the one who said challenging. Improved, thank you. Impactful, thank you. Engaging, fantastic. Effective. Rabi on nails, thank you so much. Who is willing to share your experience? Maybe I can go up to, I just go up to the next 4 minutes. So I take the last 4 minutes to sum up this session. So I'll give like 2 chances to anyone who is willing to share your experience. By show of hands. Can you kindly unmute Duku and then you will secondly unmute Jessica. Duku, welcome.
All right, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody, wherever we are. I'm taking on challenging. You can even see I'm unable to answer the 3 questions because of internet. Our internet is really down today. I think I love the description that is so challenging. For the context of South Sudan, we've been having a CTMS Plus implementation, I think since 2014 up to now. We are already coming to 13 to 14 years using the system, right from when we started using Rapid Explorer, the legacy system, the CTMS Plus version 1, and now the CTMS Plus version 2. Throughout the journey, we were able to experience a lot of challenges here and there, but what kept us moving was we were taking the challenges positively. That's why you see we are here from now. So I love the challenging because it gives us always an opportunity to always think outside the box to keep the implementation of the system moving. That's where we are at South Sudan. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Duku from South Sudan. And I think when you meet more challenges, that's when you think more innovative. And so it's good sometimes to go through challenges so that they can also help you to explore more. So I will welcome Jessica. Jessica, kindly unmute and then tell us about the word that you chose.
Thank you so much. Hi, colleagues. So I did not submit my word, but I just reflecting on the presentations and also today I see that word transforming and transformative come up a lot, and I was trying to think of a good word to say what I wanted to say, but I think that really does reflect in the presentations yesterday is just quite a dynamic and versatile systems, tools, the support that's been developed in all the different applications, different ways that we see the work going and the use of the tool. And with UNHCR, we're very excited to be working with Primero and with CPIMS Plus specifically. But I was just sort of so impressed by the transformative power of using digital technology to enhance the day-to-day work of caseworkers and practitioners and linking different entities together. It was really, really cool and really interesting. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So I will take back the program to Robert to usher in our first presenter for today. Welcome, Robert.
Isaiah, you have one more thing to share. Remember, we had to share the winners for the.
Sure.
Yeah, I think everybody will want to know. We have 2 big winners from our voting yesterday.
So going back to our yesterday winners. So hope you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So the votes for the first session that was about the Ignite. So we had the winner from Pakistan and they had the total votes of 150. So I I think they had overwhelming votes and some of them they voted more than once. That's why we had more than 150 votes. We can clap for them for being the winner for this group, and they will be getting what was planned for them for the group that will be winning for this. Then so we had the 5 groups, and we can see the first group is winning with 150. The following group is with 19, then 9, 6, and then 5. So we can clap for this group for their best presentation, and we are hoping to see more and more in the coming years. Thank you so much. Then in the next session, we also had 4 presenters. One was talking about the child functioning module. Then the other one was about the climate marker. And then we had the presentation from Ghana talking about the insight. And then lastly from Primero, the global dashboard, which was presented by Jan. And Jan was the winner for this group, but now because she is part of the Primero team, so she was technically disqualified from the competition, and then now the second winner will be taking over. So the people who did the presentation about the child functioning module, then you are the winner for this presentation. We can clap for them. Jan is saying that the elections were rigged. We'll give you a chance to try next time, but now you have to come on the neutral ground. Thank you so much for those who participated, and we are hoping to see more and more innovative and more ideas coming in the near future as we continue in our programming and technology innovation. Thank you so much. Back to you, Robert.
Great. So thank you for doing the icebreaker and for getting us off to a good start, Isaiah. Everybody, it's a good way to get a smile in at the beginning. I'm just going to hand over directly to Mohan, who's going to begin this follow-up session. I want to remind everybody that between sessions, we're going to come back and we're going to look at that whiteboard. So we'll paste the link in for you again. We apologize for the access issues that only people with UNICEF accounts are able to edit the board, but we will work on it together and make sure that we can capture all of your inputs. So over to you, Mohan, to take us through session 2.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning, afternoon, evening, colleagues. I hope you can hear me well. Rob, can you confirm if I'm audible? Great. And welcome to the day 2. It's quite exciting, and I am really, really excited for our this session, which is really, we will see a lot of exciting products and features. And then let me, sorry, give me a sec. Let me, okay, slide, sorry. Yeah, and then let me start with our objective of the session. So we will provide some information on the upcoming changes to the Primero team and the UNICEF. And then we'll also be exploring our strategy for providing better support at scale in a situation of the limited resources. And finally, we have some cool demo of our new support hubs and investment and getting our community ready to use them. So before I call to our wonderful colleagues who have really wonderful demos to present, I would like to kind of update you all on regarding the changes that is coming to UNICEF and Primero team. So as we all know, so this is an unprecedented time for all of us, and many organizations, including UNICEF. And this has resulted restructuring in UNICEF in its divisions and changes to the team. And UNICEF has started the Future Focus Initiative, which is which is UNICEF's response to these challenges. This includes the introduction of new Center of Excellence for Program Technical Assistance. Despite these changes, so UNICEF remains committed to the stewardship of Primero as a priority intervention in both child protection and ZBB. And you can also see this in the, if you haven't seen in our latest edition of Primero Post, you can see the letter from our Primero board chairs reaffirming this. And with that, I would also like to take this opportunity for you to subscribe to Primero Post, our newsletter, if you have not done so. Our colleague Jan can put in the chat the link to the subscription, how you can subscribe for the newsletter. Just quickly, if you go to the primero.org and scroll all the way at the bottom, so you will see the link for subscribing the Primero newsletter. Please do so. So the UNICEF Child Protection and Migration team, so the part of the restructuring, they will be hosting, they will host the Center of Excellence in Amman, Jordan, starting January 2026. And Primero, the core Primero team as a part of child protection team will be also relocated to the COE in 2026. And then we ensure that the regional support service will continue with minimal disruptions. And then we also want to assure that along with Primero support services, the COE will also be providing other type of technical assistance. And our goal is to provide a seamless transition and with high quality services at scale with careful approach to sustainability. With that update, so I will now would like to invite Ian or Owen from Georgian, so to showcase to walk us through the new support hub and with most awaited AI assistance. Over to you, Ian and Owen.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Let me share my screen.
Ian, perhaps do you want me to share the screen and I'll advance the slides? Ian.
Sorry, let me do that. Let me share the screen so I see the slides there. Yeah.
Well, I think Ian might be having some technical difficulties, so...
Okay. How about it?
Sorry?
I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah, that works. I can see. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm Owen. I'm a software engineer at Josian. And we have some fairly exciting changes to share with you on the support hub. So those of you who are, yeah, Ian's just saying he's at a power cut, so not the best time, of course, but yeah, so basically with support hub, as we've, as the funding situation and various other things have changed, as well as Primero scaling up, we need to sort of help formalize some of the support that makes Primero go. So this also coincides with the Skype wind down, which didn't come at a particularly convenient time in 2025, but we are moving a lot of stuff over to the support hub in the light of that. And that gives us a lot of opportunities to help formalize and scale our support network and architecture. So, and Support Hub is a big part of that. So Mohan, if you could move to the next slide. So right now, Support Hub is sort of the main place where people go to get support other than Robin, Jan, and Mohan's brains. And there are around 400 registered users of Support Hub. So that's predominantly site administrators and focal points of various kinds, as well as people like myself and the Primero team. But there's also a lot of end users who use it. And we have around 1,300 posts that are on the Support Hub where people have asked questions and hopefully they've been answered. And this is all on a custom software that we own out of UNICEF, just like Primero. So the sort of the advantage of Support Hub is that you have a single place where if someone has asked a question, everybody else gets to benefit. Whereas if you just ask a question to Jan or Robin in email or DM, they might be asked that same question again a couple of weeks later and have to copy and paste a reply or something like that. So we're hoping that having as much support out in the open is going to help reduce the workload of the support team. Mohan, if you could move on to the next slide. So in the background, we've made a lot of improvements to Support Hub. You might have heard some of this in last year's session, but Ian, are you back?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Hello, Ian.
That was the most inopportune power cut I've ever experienced. That was literally on the press of the button to share the screen. So apologies for that, but I guess that's what happens sometimes. Okay, yeah, so we've made a lot of background improvements that are in the actual hub itself. So we have multi-tenancy, we have deployed now for nutrition, for health within the supply division. These are all things that are not really visible to the end user, so I'll just briefly go over them. We have widgets, kind of like how you have WordPress, where you could just add widgets onto the page to build up your page with images, various different things that you would like to have as content items on your page. We have automatic release notes, which are pulled from GitHub. We now have the concept of user permissions. So we have an admin user, we just have viewers. This is to a view with making some content public and some content just accessible for certain users. We have Power BI embeds to a limited degree. So we can now display those dashboards on the Support Hub. And there's a lot more stuff. I don't really want to go too much into the technical stuff. We could do that perhaps in a different presentation. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so now comes the more interesting stuff. So what's in it for me? So we've got an improved community, we've got internationalization, and then we've got AI throughout the whole of the hub. So we'll just deal quickly with each of those sections, and then we'll move on to a demo at the end, which is more interesting, I think, to show. So quickly, next slide, please. Yes, the community, which is a section where we've got a much improved look and feel of the community. We've enabled push notifications. We've got recognitions for contributions to the community and a whole bunch of things like badges and ways that we can show people that they are being valued members of our community. Something interesting we also have is templates, which we can then, for answers that, or for questions that are regularly asked, we can template some of those responses. Which means that the system can handle kind of a first level of support without it having to be passed on to either somebody in country or even to second level support, some of the templates that we can create. It also allows us to have a more of a fine-grained ticketing system so that questions can be asked in a standard template. Okay, next. Yeah, now internationalization, we have got left to right support Arabic. This is done on each individual widget. You can choose which language that widget will be represented and put the translations for each of the widgets. So you build the page up with your translated languages. We have also got support now for documents in multiple languages. Okay, next. Okay, next. Okay, next. Yeah, that's it. Now it should display. So this is just a quick demonstration of how we have some of the internationalization features working within the community section. So
yeah. So basically, this is sort of one of the flagship features that we think is going to help with the community a lot in expanding the user base that Primero is able to reach, or rather the support hub is able to reach. So right now, pretty much all of the support documentation that we have, especially in the community, is entirely in English. Now, what you might be surprised to see is that this entire forum post is written in a whole bunch of different languages. So the original question was asked in French, and Ian responded in Portuguese. And that allows us as, you know, this allows a user to switch their own language, and for instance, French, and they'll be able to see all the same content that I might see in English, but in their own native language. So this question, as I said, was asked in French, but I responded in English and Ian responded in Portuguese, and they get to see their responses in their own language. And this is in the original languages, so you can see also what people actually said under the hood. But we think that this is going to be a really important way of expanding access to support, not just to focal points, but also to power users and others in the community who might want to ask questions in their own native language. And you can see I'm now responding again in French. And if I switch back to English, I'll see my response, which is "thank you, I understand," in English.
Just to be clear, this doesn't require, we're doing this change in the interface language for the purposes of this demo.
This is just so that you can sort of see what, if your browser is set to a specific language, you ought to be able to see that, all of it in your languages. And this is, you know, other languages are available too. I've switched on Arabic, French, Spanish, English to begin with, just on this demo instance, but we support quite considerably more languages than that. And that's sort of a key feature for expanding access to support in the future. Okay, so yeah. That's the next slide, please.
Yeah, so just to be clear on that, all existing content that we have, community existing content, is now multilingual because of this, which is a considerable advantage, I would think.
Every question that has ever been asked on the forum is now available, or well, when we drop this, is now available in your language, whatever that may be. And
yeah,
if there's some languages that we need to include beyond the most common UN languages, let's just make sure that we have your language switched on.
Okay, thanks, Owen. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. But that's not even the coolest thing. Check this out. This is AI. This is the answers in your own language. So we have the internationalization kind of embedded into the AI. So we've built this AI to be able to ask and translate questions in your own languages. Obviously, this includes all of the documents on the support hub. We've fed it into the AI. It's ingested that content. So this is something that's going to help the community to grow. And what the AI also helps with is that on the community, we have a summarization of the key information per topic. And we also have the translations of posts. So I think probably what we're going to do now is Arwen's going to do a quick demo. Let's just move on to the next slide. I think that's just a demo, and then it's any questions. So next slide is the QA. So yeah, now we can just move on to the short AI demonstration from Arwen and then have any questions. Okay?
Yes. So I'm going to first show, here's one I prepared earlier, as Rob often pokes fun at me for, is I like doing video demos. But then at great risk, I'm also going to do a interactive demo where you guys can submit questions to the AI within reason, and we can see how it handles lots of different questions and potentially in multiple different languages as well. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen. So this is the Ask AI feature. So as Ian said, it's loaded up all of the different documentations that are on the support hub. And by that, I don't mean the forum posts. I mean the sort of more formal documentation that we have. So that's the user guide, that's information about deployments, that's information about all sorts of different things. Something interesting that I've done for this demo is that I have neglected to put the CPIMS user guide in English on this development site. So it's actually only available in Arabic, French, and Spanish. I've deleted the English version. But we're going to ask it some questions anyway, and you're going to be surprised to see how it manages to respond. Obviously, I can't conduct this in another language because...
Arwen, may I ask you a favor? Could I ask you to take your camera off while you're sharing the screen, because it's not rendering very clearly.
Yes. Are you...
Try again.
Able to see now?
It's pretty blurry.
Hmm.
Maybe just leave it for a few seconds to see if it focuses.
You able to see?
Not clear enough to even read the headers.
Oh dear.
This is why you like to do videos instead of live demos.
Well, this is a video demo.
Oh, this is the video demo.
But
yeah, it's definitely taking some time. I think it's starting to clear up now a little bit, maybe. So maybe it's just a matter of letting it like load a little bit. Does anybody else have this video?
Yes, it's, in fact, I can share the link to the video if people want to watch it as well. But I will share the link right now, and maybe Mohan, your internet seemed to work very well. So I'll just quickly share the link for that video.
Yes, please do that. Yes, share, and then I will try to share from my side.
Please stand by for a moment. This is always the issue with technology. Mohan, did you get the link in chat?
Yeah, I got. I'm trying to open. Give me a sec.
Much better.
So if you want to just pause it on the answer. In a second, sorry. Yeah. You can resume. So the first thing I asked it is, what are the different tiers of deployment? This is something that often confuses me because there's really only three. But we say, so if you want to pause for a second. So I asked it, what are the different tiers of deployment? And it has looked up the source documents about Primero Tier 4 and Primero Tier 1. And it has determined that there's Tier 1, DIY open source, Tier 3, UNICEF hosted SaaS, and Tier 4, which is a hybrid local production server with a UNICEF hosted demo and an automated update delivery. And it's sort of differentiated between the different answers. And frankly, that's about as good of an answer as I would have been able to give. And then here's another one that I like to ask is, how do I remove a flag from a case? And this one's very interesting because it only has access to the CPIMS user guide in the other languages. So, though it may have pulled it up from the PCM-IMS as well, it says, open the case, click the flags button. Next to the flag you created, click resolve, enter a reason in the modal, and submit. That is basically the fun Ask AI feature. But we have, if you were to ask it a question in another language, it would use the English or perhaps the French documentation. Okay, Rob has asked it. This is going to be the real challenge here. Rob has asked it, or is asking me to ask it something in, I'm not even sure which language.
That's Korean.
Is it Korean?
Which I do not speak.
Cool. Well, we're gonna see, aren't we? But this is not using anything like Google Translate. The AI is multilingual itself, so it's quite a lot like using ChatGPT or something like that. So it speaks multiple different languages. So I'm going to ask it this question, and I'm going to paste the response in chat. I'll share my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I just asked it this question, and this is still in the English version of the Support Hub because we don't have a Korean version of the Support Hub, but it still speaks multiple languages, and I really hope that it's given a good answer. Rob, what did you ask it?
You're on mute, Rob.
More technical difficulties. I asked it, yes, this is exactly what I did. So it should be the answer to my question, which is, if a user creates a flag and then that user is disabled, how can I remove the flag?
So,
and yours is blurry again, but I can almost see it.
Just paste that in the chat, Owen. That response.
Yeah,
I did paste the response in the chat. So here, this is something that seems perhaps outside of its knowledge base.
Okay.
So it says, only the user who created the flag can remove it, and there's no information on how to handle flags if the user who created them has been deactivated. So it tries to stay in its lane and doesn't generally make things up, something that ChatGPT and friends like to do very frequently. So one thing that we've tried to convince the AI to do is to not make up answers. Of course, it probably will occasionally, but or get things slightly wrong, but we've very much erred on the side of not answering if it doesn't know the answer to something. We've tried to calibrate it in that way.
Great. It's amazing. Just the amount of time and effort we're going to save on the translation of documents and the availability of the content in the threads in the community in any language that people need it in is remarkable. It's a huge advance for us.
So Samia, I'm not sure if that's how I pronounce your name, but yeah, I think Jan's just replied, but this is not something that matters your subscription. In fact, anyone who's a member of the Primero community would be able to access all of these features. The support hub is for everyone, not just the. Yeah, so to be clear, this is not something that we are embedding into CPIMS. This is something that is just for the support hub. There are a lot of ethical questions about using AI for child protection directly, and most of those ethical questions don't really exist for support documentation. So this is a much safer place for this sort of technology to exist. And we hope that it's going to be useful to everyone. So I want to be clear, what happens if one of the source documents has an updated answer to the question while the other has the original version of an answer? So this is something that if we have something like the user guide that's been translated into the 5 major UN languages or other major languages, that's something that is a big pain point right now, is keeping it all up to date and making sure that there isn't sort of version skew and drift. So no matter what language you're in, the AI will be able to read the English versions of the documents as well as the versions in your local language, and it will be able to get the information out of both versions. So if the English version contains some piece of information and your local version of the user guide does not, because it hasn't been updated, it'll pull that out of the English version.
And translate it for you.
And translate it for you. I'm hoping.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Ian and Ian and Owen. That was great. That is really cool, and I'm sure this will be game changer for the support to our end users. Having this in multiple languages and with this AI assistance, I'm sure that our life will gonna be easier. I can see because this like having the our documentations and all these community kind of feedbacks and everything being only in English, and especially in my region where the language English is challenging. So I am very much excited of this, and I'm sure all the colleagues would be loving this support hub with AI assistance, and especially in which you can use in your own language. This is super cool. Thank you. And then I saw like Owen and Ian already responded most of the questions that we have in chats. And Owen and Ian, if you can also, if there is anything remain, if you can respond in the chats. So in the interest of the time, I would like to move with next presentation. So for sure, this was really cool demo, and then this would make our life easier, but Primero team have been thinking even bigger. So we not only just support users when they are stuck, but proactively build their skills and confidence with Primero. So for that, I would like to welcome Jan to share about the Primero Academy. Over to you, Jan.
Great, thanks, Mohan. If you can just share the last slide, I'll speak to it. So, and it'll also, I hope, answer a lot of the questions that are currently coming through in the chat. So I just wanted to really highlight, if you didn't see in the chat or hear the answer, that everything on the Support Hub is open source, so everyone will have access to it. Your subscription pays for support, all of the different vendor contracts that we set up, and we try to make sure that various features and functionality, the majority of them come with that subscription cost. There is no added cost to it. So I just wanted to make that really clear, is that we want this to be accessible to everybody and to help you. And so what I'm really excited about is to be able to provide support to you in different languages. Of course, we have a fantastic team who all speak different languages except for me, and I've been struggling consistently to provide support in French and Arabic and Spanish, and I always lean on my colleagues. But now we have a tool that we're going to be launching that can support you all in different languages. And as I also mentioned in the chat, the idea is that the AI will be more and more clear based on the documentation that we're going to be putting into it. So I had hoped to have mocked this up for you for this meeting, but unfortunately I did not have the chance to, and that was my apologies. But what this means is we've already developed a ton of documentation. So not only on the operational guides, so what it takes to set up a system, whether it's hosted by UNICEF or hosted by governments or partners, we have documentation, of course, already on the CP and GBV IMS Plus, but now we have the PCM IMS Plus that's led by NRC and UNHCR. And so that documentation is going to be on there. We'll have more information on configuring your systems, trans effects, user management, and all of this will be able to be pulled into the AI assistant as well for those who need support. And really, this is going to continue to be the central hub that we are going to utilize for support moving forward. You know, we understand that everybody's organizations are changing right now, given the context. And so we want to, and we're also dealing with the changes as Mohan has mentioned. And so with that, we want to try and reduce the support load that we have, and be able to channel it through the support hub. And the other thing is we want to be able to scale without having a lot of effort. So one of the things that we're hoping is that there's going to be this new academy in the first quarter of next year, where you're able to find all of the videos and the guides, and it's a one-stop shop for anybody to have some sort of scale in your program and train more effortlessly. We want you to be more comfortable onboarding and happier, and one of the things I always like to say is the more independent you are, the more successful we are. You're able to run with your program without having to have the Primero team intervene or need support. And the idea of the Primero Academy that we're going to launch is that you will have this one-stop shop to scale training effortlessly and have new caseworkers and managers go and find the information that they need. So there's more to come on this. If there are any questions, please let me know. If you have any suggestions as well in terms of documentation, one of the things I really liked that Samia asked was, will it have answers? What if it doesn't have answers? And one of the things is we will continually develop documentation based on the requests that we get. And I think at this point we have a robust knowledge base, and it's kind of scattered, whether it's on YouTube or on Google Drive or in the support hub. And this is going to really help us pull everything together. So with that, I'll answer any questions that are coming through in the chat, but please feel free to continue to ask as well. Thanks. Thanks, Mohan.
I have one, Jan.
Yeah, go for it.
So what I want everybody to understand is that this is a very initial, we call it like an MVP. This is the very first iteration of this. We've been using the support hub for years and years, very, very successfully. Behind the scenes, what perhaps not all of you see is the number of visits that this site receives. It's very, very extraordinary, the traffic the site receives. But what we're missing a little bit is this ability to kind of pull everything into one, like Jan called it, a body of knowledge or a knowledge base. And that's what we're doing now. So this is the very beginning of this process. And your feedback, just like your feedback for Primero and the features and tools that we build for Primero, is equally important in this. And we've been asking in the global teams, in the meetings, if there are people that in this community that are active users of the support hub that want to be part of a user testing group, that want to engage that way, because over the coming months, we're going to be making decisions about where we invest and what types of features and what types of things we include in this new support hub. So please let us know if you'd like to participate in that. If you're an active user of the hub and you have ideas, you'd be a great candidate. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it's something that can help us really improve the service offering. So I do encourage you to let us know if you want to participate in that. And Lama just asked a question about replacing the Skype admin group. Well, the Skype admin group's already gone because Skype was decommissioned. We've been using a Teams group, and we've noticed since we've been using the Microsoft Teams group that there's a lot less engagement on the Teams channel. And that's a problem for us. So part of the investment in the Support Hub is to make sure that that community channel is easy to use, that you can get notifications from it, that you can use it in your language, especially if you're a system administrator or you're somebody that's working with the teams and doing configurations and doing technical work. This will be our one-stop shop. And eventually, I should warn everybody that we will stop responding to support requests that come in emails, and we'll just simply ask you to put your support request in the Support Hub. Because we have to do more with less. We have to reach more people with fewer resources. And this is one of the strategies that we have. One of the greatest expenses that we have is human resources. And this team is fantastic, but there's only so many hours in a day. So this is something that we're going to be transitioning to in 2026 as a part of a support strategy that is doing more with less, using being more strategic and deliberate about the way that we provide support, and making sure that we're managing that change for our users as well.
Thanks, Rob. If there are any other questions on the Support Hub and how we're providing support currently, please let me know. So I'm going to hand over, as Mohan has lost internet. So we're going to be now transitioning into the next session, which will be led by Robert on our partnerships and our plans in 2026. Thanks.
Great, thanks very much. That was I'm very excited about that. So what we're going to do now is we have one more session before we have a break. Before we jump into that session, I'm going to take the opportunity to just go over again to this whiteboard. And we did hear quite a few questions. AI always generates lots of interest. I do want to take a look together at this whiteboard. I hope I picked the right link. Tell me when you can see this.
Yes.
Oh, it's the wrong one. Look at that. This is the
Looks like
one
a
that.
sprint retrospective here.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? This is not the correct one, I'm afraid. So I have to find my way to the other one. Okay. Hopefully this is the correct one now. You see some inputs here. We're starting to see the whiteboard is being populated. So I want to use that last session as an example for how we actually document the feedback from yourselves, from the group. We can't go through the transcript later and read line by line to see and read all the comments to see if they're all being captured. So right now, I think we have some ideas for priorities for our next year. We've seen some interest in the AI and how the AI works. So we really want to make sure that if you have ideas, if you have needs, especially if you're channeling that information directly from users that you're supporting, we need that channel to be open. We need you to be communicating to us the experiences that your teams are facing in the field. That's very, very valuable to us. So we will take time towards the end of the day, and for those of you that already have access to this, I encourage you to use it. And we'll take time at the end of the day to go through each of these and try to group them together to help inform our plans for the coming year. I just wanted to take a moment to do that with everyone. And now what I'll do is shift over to the presentation on partnerships. So we have some really great ones today. I'm very excited about these. It's, as we say, always we're making the same kind of statements over and over again, but it is true that more than anything, Primero is about partnership. The underlying value of having a system like Primero is that many, many organizations can work on the same platform at the same time and trust that platform to separate their information, their data from others, and only to exchange that information when there's a need to know basis and when there's a real value to doing that. So partnerships are based on trust. To grow Primero, we need to grow partnerships. So with that in mind, I am going to just go through our session objectives and we'll get underway with this session. After this session, we'll have a nice break so we can have a cup of coffee and relax and tune out for a little bit. But let's, we have 4 presenters here. We're gonna keep them very time bound. Our objectives are to learn how Primero approaches partnerships and their vital role in sustainability. There's that S word again. To shine a spotlight on some promising new partnerships and to think about how we can improve and how we can make these even more impactful in the future. So what we're going to look at first is the lineup that we're talking about today. We have some very, very unique and interesting partnerships, but also variations of Primero. The first one is going to be a presentation on Unicare. This is from our colleague Pedro, we've been working with for many years. Many of you might remember Pedro from his time supporting the East Asia Pacific region. So he's an old friend and a Primero super user. The second is going to be from our colleague Mamadou, our man in West and Central Africa. Mamadou is going to talk to us a little bit about how he's been able to link work across different ministries working in child protection and injustice issues in the same instance of Primero. Not a small thing, very challenging task. I think it's really worth taking a look at. Then we'll hear from Brad, our colleague Brad. Brad is the president of Salus. Salus is a company that sells Primero software services in the United States and Canada. They're our partner, and Brad's going to talk a little bit about the nature of that partnership and how it's adding value. And then finally, we'll hear from our colleague Brandon from the Norwegian Refugee Council, who's going to share with everybody the information about the newest module of Primero. So Primero has another little child, right? Or there's another sibling in the family. And Brandon's going to take us through the work that NRSD is doing with protection case management in Palestine. So a very, very interesting lineup for us. We're going to start with Pedro and Unicare. Pedro, do you have, are you going to take control of the screen now?
Thanks, Rob. Yes, if I may.
Yep. Okay, I'll stop sharing then.
And thank you so much for the kind introductions. It's a true pleasure to be here amongst this community once again and see so many familiar faces. So I will be talking about Unicare, UNICEF's community-driven accountability response ecosystem. And I will try to explain what it is. Colleagues that already know, please bear with me. But most importantly, I will show you live how it works and how it leverages the great Primero architecture to its benefits. So maybe an initial word just to say that this initiative is a cross-divisional project done by the Office of Emergency Programs together with ICTD, DAPAM, and Program Group with the special support of Child Protection and the Primero team. And what are we trying to solve exactly? So I will start by telling you about the problem we are trying to overcome, or actually the set of problems. So if you imagine we have a refugee girl living in a camp, you can imagine Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, for example, who is abused by one of the facilitators of the UNICEF-sponsored child-friendly space. When wanting to report it, she is too ashamed to tell her family and too afraid to tell any of the other CFS staff members. So when she looks for alternatives, she finds this. And this is to illustrate an unfortunately very common reality in the field where we have at the same time absence of appropriate channels, because in this context, asthma doesn't know how to be done right, and mobile phones are not allowed in the refugee camps in Cox's Bazar. But also even if they were, there would be too many repetitive phone numbers to call, and people will not understand whom to call for what. And this is extremely discouraging. This is leading to unaddressed complaints. This is leading for communities to lack acceptance of the UN and of UNICEF and to lose trust in our services. And then we also look at the problem from the UNICEF's perspective, and we see that within our country offices, we happen to have in some situations several different feedback channels or complaint and feedback mechanisms or grievance response mechanisms. They can go by different names, but they all have the same purpose: to allow the people we serve to communicate with us, to submit their problems, concerns, questions, complaints, and so on. So by having several systems within the same country office, we are adding to this confusion and to this difficulty for people to know where to go to report what. We are also multiplying the costs of developing, deploying, and maintaining all of this infrastructure. And sometimes these systems are not appropriately certified in terms of data protection, in cybersecurity, and so on, which might create additional harm for the people we are trying to serve. And on top of all of this, because they are not talking to each other, this is hindering our ability to analyze the information we are receiving, and it's hindering our ability to learn and improve. So what we are trying to do with UniCare and this initiative, and the solution we propose, is a renewed vision on how UNICEF handles feedback and complaints from the people we serve. And we are shifting the mindset, and we are raising our accountability bar. We are not only looking at this from a humanitarian perspective, we are not only looking at feedback from beneficiaries, we are looking at feedback from anyone with whom UNICEF interacts, whether it is development program, humanitarian program, advocacy, fundraising, and so on. And the way to get there is a two-pronged approach. On one hand, we are developing the necessary regulatory framework to clarify what offices need to have in place, while at the same time developing a package of comprehensive guidance, templates, and tools to support offices in putting that regulatory framework in practice. So the regulatory framework will take the form of a procedure on complaints and feedback management that is about to be published under DAPAM leadership. And the package of tools and templates is what we are calling UniCare. And you will see it's more than just a technology. It has a very heavy technology component, but it also has some processes behind it in terms of standard operating procedures, referral pathways, common taxonomies, data sharing agreements, monitoring and evaluation frameworks, and so on. Now, diving into how it works, and the most interesting part, basically, we are introducing a unified approach where all types of feedback and complaints, regardless of their origin or area of concern, so let's say health, WASH, education, social policy, child protection, nutrition, safeguarding, etc., are processed in one centralized system. And this streamlined approach will optimize efficiency, ensuring that feedback securely reaches the right focal points for timely action and resolution. So you see here in the picture, we'll have different components. And the first component will be our intake channel. So the channels that the communities, the people we serve might use to communicate with us and for us to communicate with them. And we follow a multi-channel approach to ensure that we can serve the needs of different vulnerable populations and groups. And we know there will be people without access to mobile phones, people without access to internet, people that don't know how to read and write. And for those circumstances, we have a face-to-face complaints form that is intended for our frontline workers, UNICEF staff, implementing partners, to document what people bring to them when they are in the field. So let's say I'm a wash engineer, I'm building a latrine in a school, a little girl comes to me just because I have the UNICEF t-shirt on and complains about a teacher that is abusing students. So then I will have in my pocket a secure and standardized way to document this situation and to immediately notify the respective focal points for timely action. Very important, this works offline, of course, and it will synchronize with the central system once the user gets connectivity. And then on top of this blanket approach of the face-to-face, we also have a myriad of digital channels that can be implemented depending on the preferences of the populations and the country offices. So we have the ability to create interactions via text messages, and this can happen in traditional GSMA text messages, but also in WhatsApp, Viber, Telegram, Signal, and so on. If you scan the QR code right now, you will actually be able to interact with one of our demo environments. And then we can also do this using secure online forms in our unicef.org website. And regardless of the channels that are in place, all of these channels are connected to a central management platform, an information management system. And this is where Primero comes in. Primero is this central engine at the center of UniCare, where all the channels are connected to, so that our focal points, the people responsible to address the different types of feedback and complaints, can have a single place where they can go and see what are the problems that pertain to their area of responsibility, so that they can be timely and securely addressed. The platform will also facilitate automatic notification of the users, and like we are familiar for child protection and GBV, will also facilitate case assignments, transfers, and referrals when we need to send a specific feedback or complaint from my team to another team, or from UNICEF to an implementing partner, or even higher up in the UNICEF organization, for example, from a country office to the Office of Internal Investigations for the situations of sexual exploitation and abuse, for example. And then on top of all of this, we have an advanced analytics module that is deriving trends and insights from our feedback data, and it will allow our decision makers to have more evidence to base their decisions, to course correct, to improve our programs. And I think I will stop here, and I will try to share this in reality. And Rob, please stop me if I'm taking too much time. But I really wanted to give you the real flavor, because the PowerPoint is a bit boring. So let me just see. Where are you?
You're okay for
Yeah.
time, Pedro. You still have 5 minutes left before Q&A.
Perfect, perfect. So I will start by showing you the face-to-face form I talked first, the one that is intended for our frontline workers to be able to record what people bring to them face-to-face. And we will quickly, let's say, submit a complaint here so that you can see how it looks like. And you will see this is tailored for Bosnia. We are using the demo environment for our Bosnia deployment. And let's say we have a complaint about education. Of course, we can write here whatever it is, the real problem. You will see that the form already includes some guidance for our frontline workers in terms of how to deal with more serious allegations, and there's a link to the GBV Pocket Guide. We also collect some statistical information in terms of language, age group, and language. We can, if we want, document noticeable vulnerability factors. for example, a child-headed households. And then we can or not collect personal identifiable data. This is very important. People can always submit anonymous feedback and complaints. So for the sake of the example, I will say no to make it faster. And then our frontline workers will be prompted to make an initial assessment on what categorization does this feedback have. So let's say I have a complaint about assistance that UNICEF is providing, a complaint about our activities, and the programmatic area is about education, right? What immediate actions were taken? So we can document if we did something immediately, and we submit. And as soon as we submit, we will see this will come up immediately in our Primero management platform. And you are very familiar with the user interface. It's exactly the same. You will still have a list of tickets, not cases. That's our language. And you will see 13th of November, we just received this record that we have here. Well, actually, it's not this one. Ours didn't come in yet. But there it is. This one here, complaint about education, exactly what we just wrote on the face-to-face form. Yeah, and you will see we have a different set of forms than the ones you have in CPMS Plus, GBVMS Plus, and so on. And this is what we tailored for the Unicare use case to facilitate the documentation of the feedback management process. So we can document our assessments, we can document our response, and we can document our ticket closures. Now, that was the face-to-face. I also wanted to show you, if I still have time, very quickly, the WhatsApp example. Again, we are looking at Bosnia. And we will have an automated chatbot that looks like this and that can be tailored to different contexts. So we start by selecting the language, of course. Then we have to accept that we want to use UNICEF services in this regard. We collect again age, gender, and location for our analytical purposes. Location. And this is the district. And finally, the user is given a menu of options. So they can give praise, hopefully, but they can also ask questions, request assistance, share concerns, submit complaints, and so on. So let's use an example. I will want to submit a complaint. I press 5. Depending on the option I select, the system will automatically reply with additional questions or automatic responses. So is my complaint about activities, is my complaint about aid items, or is my complaint about the behavior of an aid worker? Let's go for the worst case scenario, and I say it's about the behavior of an aid worker. I press number 3. The system will now give me the opportunity to write down what exactly happened. And as you can see, we are not prompting for any particular details. We give people the room to share whatever they feel comfortable to share. So let's say I have a complaint about sexual exploitation and abuse. Of course, I would detail what was the problem. Again, we will have a level of data protection consent if people want to remain anonymous or if they want to share their personal data. Of course, in some situations, we can only follow up if they share their personal data, so there will be limitations. I will say, no, I don't want to share. I want to remain anonymous to make it quicker. And that's it. The complaint was submitted, and let's see if it works. Let's see if it appears in our Primero management system. Yeah, there it is. You see, you have an anonymous ticket, and you'll see complaint SCA is exactly what I wrote. And you will see the system is automatic automatically categorizing what's the problem, the urgency, the sensitivity, and some other automatic information that we have. And you don't see it, but the PSEA specialist received an email notification telling them that they have a new ticket in the system that requires immediate attention. And with this, I think I will pause and hand over to you in case you have questions, suggestions. Your feedback is also very, very welcome. Thank you.
An amazing progress that you've made with this, Pedro. Really very impressive. So we have a few questions in the chat. I'd also encourage people, if they want to ask questions to Pedro directly, we have a little bit of time for this, so please do raise your hand. Samia asks the question, who has access for this and who can fill it? And I think at that point, 22, that was about 4 minutes ago, I'm assuming that was on WhatsApp. So maybe you could explain the question of access, Pedro.
Yeah, thank you so much. So if we are talking about WhatsApp, the WhatsApp is a public-facing channel. Is intended for the communities, the people, the public in general, to be able to use. Of course, it will depend on the country office's preferences from context to context on how to advertise and how wide are we advertising it. So for example, in Bosnia right now, we are advertising exclusively within the migration program in our temporary reception centers and within the education program with a specific NGO partner. It's advertised in the classrooms in some of the schools that are part of this program. Not sure if it answers the question. Please come in if it's easier.
No, I think that got it, Pedro. That's what I was hoping here, because obviously there is an element here that we don't typically have in our child protection GBV programs, which is the socialization about the access to this, right? So whether that's posters or some other communication channel, maybe it's being announced on the radio, maybe there's some kind of a campaign associated with it, but people need to know that it exists in order for them to be able to use it. I just want to make sure we get a couple more questions here if possible. There's a question from Alwyn about how the data actually gets from Inform and Rapid Pro into Primero. Are you using Open Function or just the API directly? Very technical question.
Yes, I think that's probably for Jen, the master behind it. But I can say that for Inform, so for the face-to-face, we are using Open Function. But for Rapid Pro, it's a direct API call, right, Jen?
Exactly. No, thanks, Pedro. And if people have any questions technically on how we hooked up Inform and Rapid Pro into Primero, I'm happy to answer them. I guess I just wanted to clarify for people why we used Open Function and what is Open Function for those of you, there's 60 people on this call who may or may not know what Open Function is. So Open Function is a middleware software that essentially works as a plug to connect two different systems that may be sending data back and forth that don't necessarily match up with one another. And so it's really great because it can help in that transformation so the data goes into Primero correctly. Rapid Pro we're really happy with because we don't need to have this middleware. We're able to connect directly into Rapid Pro, and so that's why it's just such a seamless process. But as Robert had put in the chat, both interoperability and the Rapid Pro integration is a part of our value-added services. So if this is something that you're interested in other implementations, we're very happy to do that for you. And yeah, if there's any other technical questions, please channel them to me. There's another question in the chat, Pedro. I'll let you handle but feel free to pull me in.
So this one, Pedro, is more programmatic than technical. And the question is, how do you make sure there's no backlash when SEA or sensitive cases get reported considering that there is trace left on WhatsApp or messaging platform. In many contexts, phones are owned by male family members. So if you could respond to that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Caro. Well, as you know, we discussed this several times, right? And we are counting on your help and support as well to make sure we safeguard this as much as possible. So right now we are following your safer chatbots guidance, and we will, depending on the context, because the flows themselves, they need to be designed by the country offices, right? We provide the infrastructure, but then the country offices will be the ones tailoring the flows, and obviously with participation from child protection, GBV, PSCA colleagues in country. And when they do this tailoring, they will have to have this into consideration. And we have already tested the possibility of having messages instructing users on how to protect themselves in this situation. So, for example, having the flow ending with a notification that says, if you are using a phone that is not yours, please consider deleting the chat information on your hand so that no one else can see it after you use it. But it's true, there's a remaining risk that will always be there, and country offices need to be mindful to weigh those risks against the benefits when deciding to use this type of channels. But over to you. I mean, please come in as well. I'm sure you have advice that's useful for the whole community.
I saw a thumbs up come in from Caro, so I'm gonna assume that well, we can continue that conversation. We do have to move on with the program, where we've got 3 more presenters in this session. So everybody, a round of virtual applause for Pedro, and really looking forward to this emerging partnership with the Unicare initiative. So our next presenter, thanks Pedro, our next presenter is our dear friend Mamadou, who is going to walk us through the work that he has led on to bring 2 ministries approaches to child protection and justice for children together on a common platform. Over to you, Mamadou, for your Liberia presentation.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning to everyone. As Robert already explained, I'm going to share the example of Liberia. Let me share my screen before. Okay. I think it's okay. Robert, do you see my screen?
Yep, yeah. We see it. Maybe you can put it. Yeah, that's better. Thanks.
Okay. For the context, we already rolled out the CPA IMS Plus on Liberia. They tested it, and now they are using it. And we started with this country at 2023 for the different testing phase. And after we have the adoption of the system by the ministry in charge of child protection, and the scale-up are currently underway with the UNICEF support. And it's approximately the same. So let me go directly to the major innovation in 2025. After the Ministry in charge of Child Protection start using the CPIMS Plus, the Ministry in charge of Justice start discussion with us and want to know if it's possible for them to develop a Justice for Children information management system, but they doesn't want the different system in different link. They just want the child protection system and the Justice for Children system in the same instance, but with the different config. When the person from the ministry connect, they will go directly to the justice system or to to the child protection case management system. So we start configuration with them, but finally we find a solution to develop within the case management system a submodule for the justice. And this is a screenshot of what we have from the justice. This is working directly from the child protection case management system. How it's work? The two systems, child protection and justice for children, operate in the same instance. We have the same demo and the same production. The technical resources such as hosting, maintenance, and security are shared. And with the separate configuration, we are sure that a user from the Ministry of Justice see only justice tool, form, and information. And the user of ministry in charge of child protection, more specifically case management, see only the tools, form, and information from case management. If I continue, one of the advantages of this system is the centralized and harmonized of child protection and justice. The two ministries can have in the same time statistics from each ministry, or they can have statistics from the two in the same time. It enhances coordination between the two ministries and cost efficiency throughout shared infrastructure and maintenance. And what I just want to add, this is not the first time we are doing thing like that. In Mauritania, we have two systems, two different instances, one from the Ministry of Justice and one from the Ministry in charge of child protection. But every year they need to pay for the two different systems. And it's the same thing we are doing in Liberia. We merge the two systems and it will be only one system. They have to pay the subscription only for one system. It improves data analysis and reporting across both sectors. And with this kind of configuration, we don't really need a really advanced configuration or really very high level of support for API or interoperability. This is really basic, and even the national system admin, when we explain to him how it's work, he can add more and more organization ministry in the system. So let's go directly in the demo and we will see how the system works concretely. And I will open two different accounts, one from the justice side and one from the child protection case management. Okay, let me see protection. This is the normal instance we have for case management from Liberia. And if I come in case here, you will see here we have different steps in the case management process with the different form. And what we just do is just a question of configuration. We come here, justice, and for the Ministry of Justice, we set up approximately the same. And if we open the case with different step and form we have here, this is not for the case management, but this is only for the Ministry of Justice. And we still have the same information inside with different information the Ministry of Justice collect from the different case. We have all this information. We already config all these form in the system, but some fields are shared. For example, age, sex, and gender, name. These different fields are shared between the two systems. Okay. And now with the possibility, it's work in the same way, with the possibility to share information between justice and child protection. It's the same like referral. In this case, we imagine that the Ministry of Justice already registered a child. They can decide, for example, to refer these children to the ministry in charge of child protection for the case management process, because here we don't have the case management process. Let's just try. I'm going directly to protection. Okay. Okay, this means before I already been in contact with the Ministry of Charge of Child Protection before sending this request. And when I come back to the ministry, this is the ministry in charge of child protection, the case management process. I have one new case here. And if I just need to open my case here, I already have this case with all different information for the case management process. And that's the way we set up the system, and it allows us to make different ministry work in the same system. For the Ministry of Justice, they have their own admin. The ministry in charge of child protection, they already have their own admin. It's the system of sub-module we have within the system. And we already set up this for Cameroon, and in Cameroon is line. I don't know how to tell it in English, but it's the free line when we want to report a case of violence for children, and they have the staff module to directly linked with the ministry in charge of child protection. So when this operator receive a call, they can create directly a case within the sub-module and share directly with the ministry in charge of child protection for the case management. And it's going into two ways. To be very quick and give time to anyone to ask question, I think Robert is okay for me. I take just 10 minutes and I have 5 minutes for any question. Thank you.
Great, Mamadou. This is not a small challenge that you've encountered here. In many places, this is a big, difficult challenge, getting two very different types of, especially government partners, doing different types of programming to share the same implementation. We've got Aminu from Nigeria saying they need this support. We've got Duku from South Sudan saying great work. And Ali's come in with a question for you, Mamadou. Any certain challenges and how you overcame them bringing together more than one government partner? So I think this is not only about the technology implementation, but the partnership itself. Did you understand the question, Mamadou?
No.
So Ali's question is about, are there certain challenges that you had to overcome when you're bringing together two different government ministries?
Yes, exactly. We have a lot of challenge. The first one, let me come back in my screen again. The first one is what we have in the system. For example, basically, this system is set up for case management. And the first challenge we have here is the workflow. But we're working with Jan to find solution with this, because sometimes the workflow for the case management is not the same workflow we have for other ministries. So we have to correct this first one. And the second one, this challenge is more technical, because for this kind of thing, we need more skills from the admin, the different admin, and we need to spend more time with them for the different config. We have to be sure that every information are going in the good way, and each ministry need to see its own information. It's like we separate the system in 2 or 3, and everyone normally have access to its own information. This is the real challenge we have. But after this, for the other challenge, I think it's the same technical challenge we have when we roll out CPIMS in the country.
So lots of feedback and congratulations coming in for you. I encourage people to, if they want to ask questions about the process, to come in and raise your hand. Mamadou, I have one question for you, and that is, when you explain to the government partners that there can only be one system administrator, how do they react to that?
I think with this principle, there is no a lot of difficulty, because for any country, we explain that we just have only one national admin, but for each system, we can have something like decentralized admin. They have a right to have access to only the data of the ministry and the data of the submodule. But for this discussion, with 3 countries we work with them, there is not a lot of problem. Sometimes they can talk a lot in our context when these admin are not from the ministry. In this context, it can be that difficult. But if it's only the admin within the ministry, sometimes there is no problem. And they agree with the fact that, for example, the ministry in charge of child protection set up the system firstly, and the admin of this ministry can be a super admin. There is no problem, even with the fact that it's in the case of Ministry of Justice, there is no problem for that.
The reason I'm asking that question is because for the people that were on the call yesterday, when Jan's session on new features, several of those features that were just introduced recently, the things around auditing and managing, basically having different types of logs to see the access, many of those are features that we developed to respond to governments and partners who want to be able to work with other organizations, but they want to have a higher degree of accountability. So the ability to go back and check and to do revisions of basically access control and things like that. So we do have a lot of new features and tools to help with this type of conversation. And we have the very strong belief that the more organizations that are using the same implementation, the better the results. That's when we get really the best results. So I'm going to give everybody one more minute to come to Mamadou with any questions about his experience or about the technical implementation in Liberia. And if we don't get any other questions, then we'll move to our next presenter.
Thank you.
Sounds like this experience is really in demand. Isaiah, come on in with your question.
Thank you so much. Mine is not a question, but just an encouragement, because looking to what is happening currently in Zambia, because all the teams are working together, the justice team and the child protection leading ministry. So I think this is the best model that also we are going to support Zambia to do the same way as Liberia, and we have some lessons to learn from Liberia. Thank you so much, Mamadou.
So I'm going to add something to the whiteboard, because it's something we've been talking about for a number of years, actually. And it's for specific implementations like this, where there's something new that's working and showing a lot of promise, that we develop a short technical 2-pager for it. Just a short document that kind of frames how that was done. So I'm going to add this into the chat, and I'm going to say that's what I'm going to add into the whiteboard, that we're going to start in the coming year to develop just short technical guidance notes, like a 2-page document that has a few of the guidance steps in it. The Justice for Children piece is important, growing all the time. We're being asked more and more to these questions about whether or not Primero can be used for that. The same thing with alternative care. Also, the connection between child protection case management and social protection is another one that I think we need to develop some guidance on, because if we aren't providing the guidance, if we aren't documenting the work we're doing in Liberia and making it available, people will be reinventing a lot of these processes over and over again. So it's a smart thing for us to do to get, even if it's very simple documentation available, and then we can evolve those processes as we practice them in more and more places. So bravo, Mamadou. That was excellent. Thank you for sharing. Our next presentation, we'll shift to that now. I think we're okay for time. We're going to go next to Brad Kane from Salus. Brad is been around the Primero universe since its very early days, and I am going to share my screen, Brad, so that you can present for us. Over to you.
Thank you, Robert. Happy to be here. Good day to everyone. Is my volume okay?
I hear you loud and clear. Just let me
Excellent.
know when you can see the screen okay.
Yeah, I can see the screen. If you can go to the first slide.
Okay. I wanted to get your logo up there, Brad.
We are proud of the logo. People like the butterfly, Robert, so I do appreciate that. Again, Brad Kane. I've had the chance to meet many of you, but for those that I've not, happy to present today and talk about something that's fundamental to who Salus is as a company. I am founder and CEO at Salus, and what that means in my role is I spend a lot of time working with new organizations because our focus is on the US and Canada and areas outside of the UNICEF ecosystem. But I also spend a great deal of my time collaborating with Robert and Jan. I actually sit on the Primero board, representing Salus and the partnership that I'm here to talk about today. I also work a great deal with a key partner, Terre des Hommes, also part of the Primero ecosystem in terms of our more recent work. And I'll mention that at least a little bit later. I thought I would start with some context. This is probably well known by many people here, but I think it sort of puts the Salus and CIK partnership story in the right light. In that, as Robert said, myself and other colleagues of mine now at Salus were part of a predecessor company called Coin, and you might know us under that label. And we started the development with UNICEF in 2013 and 2014 through the initial implementation in Sierra Leone, the adventures that effort required. We helped advocate for and get Primero into the open source community, and that begun the Herculean effort by Robert and Jan and Ian and all and many other people to add the documentation, the support hub, all the other elements that make the difference between an open source application and a much more ready to use digital public good. We've had, as a community, tremendous success, and I think that when we, look at where we are today, and my numbers might be a little bit low compared to, I think, what Robert shared over the last day, but getting to 20,000 users, over 80 clients, really puts Primero into the Premier League, if you will, of digital public goods and platforms that are leveraged by public sector, NGO, government organizations around the world. Salus was started in 2023, but the partnership with UNICEF, Robert and I worked a long time to define it. That started just last year, so we're about a year into the partnership. So maybe next slide. So a little bit of definition about who Salus is, right? We are a private sector company. We have plans to become a B corporation in the U.S. That's a corporation oriented towards contributing to the public good while still being a private corporation and for-profit entity. That's who we are. We started in 2023. I think many of you know some of the team here, Pavel, Jack, some of the product team that support them have been with the Primero project and now the Salus and UNICEF partnership since the beginning. We do have some new individuals. Megan is now supporting the team. She's new to the effort and providing great oversight and direction to our ongoing effort. Jen, who works with me in terms of business development. So that is another part of my role in terms of engaging human services, social services providers in US and Canada, bringing them onto the platform and expanding the Primero community. That's a big part of what Jen and I are doing. But I think for this partnership, the key thing I'd call out is that we had to make the transition from a great project team to a fully functional product organization, product company. So we really have these different functions from leadership, product management, engineering, of course, customer support, and business development, i.e. sales and marketing. That's what Jen and I are responsible for. So let's go to the next slide. So as Robert and I have defined this and we've been executing over the last year, our partnership is really built around Primero as a digital public good. We incorporate Primero into the Salus offering, what we sell to clients here in the US. We also add other digital public goods like Rapid Pro. We have some proprietary elements, such as some of the configurations that we're developing for ourselves and for our clients. And there are on the drawing board plans for other features that might not be part of the digital public good because they only relate to our clients and sort of needs outside of the community. But for the most part, where we are today, the things that we are building become part of the publicly available Primero release and hence part of the digital public good. But because we're a fully functional, young but fully functional product company, we really collaborate across these different levels because of us learning about features that our new clients need. We participate in terms of the overall governance of the digital public good. We help, we collaborate around the roadmap and ideas that might be coming to fruition over the next few months or few quarters in terms of the new features, because we have to exhibit some thought leadership in our space. We contribute case studies and impact briefs and videos and other things that we're creating for, as a side effect of our commercial activities. We also continue to contribute on the infrastructure level. In fact, there's been a very key contribution by Salus over the last year or so on that side that I'll talk about in a moment, and new features. So because we are engaging new organizations, building new capabilities, and rolling that back into Primero as a digital public good, that's sort of the nature of how we're working together. And UNICEF's side of this, which I didn't really cover in this slide, but I think it's worth mentioning here, is that this partnership enables us to talk to new organizations, assert, and describe our work with UNICEF. Jan and Robert and many others have been tremendously supportive of our efforts, have done interviews with us as part of our marketing. They sometimes talk to prospective clients to just give the background and how great, Primero is, the core of our platform is in terms of how it functions, and really to allow us to present, our services as part of this global community that we think so highly of and have been so engaged in the last almost 12 years now. Next slide. It is, I've only had one coffee, so my voice is a little rough this morning. And I think a year in, I think we've got some great milestones that we've already accomplished. We've, in fact, from a monetary perspective, already made contributions nearly $500,000. That's split between new features and other capabilities and a new second generation SaaS infrastructure that, along with our colleagues at UNICEF ICTD, now powers Primero that everyone on this call uses and takes advantage of. So we think we're very proud of being able to make that contribution and work that closely together. I think that there are exciting new features that, because we listen to our clients and build new features and then push that back into the digital public good. We're seeing things like the self-registration feature that my colleague Jack presented yesterday, or the ability for end beneficiaries and clients to have limited access to their own cases, right? Very controlled, very carefully defined access, but still it's a whole new area and a whole new growth for Primero as a platform to have that kind of capability. I included here an example of an infographic that our friend and colleague Megan O'Brien authored for us. So this is part of the research and the marketing that we do to promote better case management practices. Showing here in this example, it's a little small for maybe most of us, but showing how case management helps mitigate the effects for survivors of gender-based violence, right? So a very key question, can case management improve outcomes? That's a lot of what we try to write about and promote in terms of our engagement. And, it's been, I think, a key area for our collaboration with UNICEF. And ultimately, our goal in the CIK partnership is to expand the community. And over the last number of months, we've brought in organizations in the US and Canada that do very different things than child protection and gender-based violence remediation and the other functions that Primero has traditionally supported. We have a workforce development and job training client that runs programs for as Robert is happy to see, the Canadian government, and helps them through that process. We're now just standing up an organization, a provider in Hawaii that does prenatal and postnatal care for expectant mothers, particularly targeting indigenous mothers in in Maui and the other islands in the state of Hawaii. So we get to engage a real range of organizations, adapt our platform with Primero as a key element of that, and really see a growth in the community. And so I feel very positive that this was the right call. And it's I think, an extraordinarily innovative way of a private entity and a public sector organization to work together. And you see sort of the virtuous circle of us going to market and having commercial clients in the US, and how that drives new capabilities for the entire Primero community. So that's my brief presentation, and any questions that I can take now.
I'm sorry. Unmuting myself first. Amazing. I'm really very proud of this partnership. I think it's unique. It's a very special kind of public-private partnership. Any questions for Brad from the group? You heard Brad name drop Megan O'Brien in that presentation. Megan, our colleague from International Rescue Committee, who couldn't join us this year, who generally takes a very front and center role in these global meetings. But I do want to come back to that point for a moment, because this is a little bit different than a normal public-private relationship, in that Salus is not only growing Primero and making it more sustainable, but also drawing on the experience of the professionals that use Primero to make sure that what they're presenting to their new clients is, responsible, rights-based, and very aligned programming. So not only are we seeing important benefits in terms of the sustainability and the growth of the community, we're also seeing more beneficiaries receiving better quality of care as a result of this use of Primero, and it's really a pretty fascinating example. I do have a hand up from Dooku. Dooku, I'm going to ask you to just come on in and ask your question.
All right. Thank you so much, Robert, for the opportunity, and thanks so much, Brett. I think your presentation is really, really well. I had actually asked the question earlier on, and Rob told me there is a question coming. And so, um, in terms of the integration of Silence's uh, systems functionality vis-a-vis what we're having on Primero, probably say CPMS Plus or GBV, which components are we basically looking into in terms of system functionality for Silence into the president?
Robert, I couldn't hear all of
I
Dooku's
struggled with
question,
that
so
too. Dooku, I heard part of it, but maybe because it wasn't clear, maybe you can put the question, you can write it for us in the chat, because the audio was a little unclear there, and I didn't quite get the gist of your question.
yeah. While Dooku's doing that, I just wanted to add on to what you said, Robert. You know, we're actually incredibly mindful at Salus that we are not child protection or human services professionals, most of us, right? And almost all of us currently. So it is very important that we rely on actual experts, right? We've had, you know, Megan's been a great colleague. Stephanie Chandler, some of you know, we've engaged on some of the other tasks. I remind the team all the time that we're technologists, and we may have been around Primero, and I think you know, we've learned a lot, you know, over the last 10, 12 years about the sector and about the key things that folks are doing in terms of actually delivering services. But we try to, it might be the risk of an analogy. We try not to get over our skis, meaning, you know, we try to remember who we are and and what we try to do in that process. So it is very important for us to sort of stay to our knitting there.
Yeah, very appreciate that clarification, Brad. What I intended to say was that I think there's a very big difference between some of these public sector institutions that you're working with going and getting a commercial software and modifying it for their human services work, as opposed to using a product that's designed by and developed by organizations that are specialized in this, and taking that product out to more to a broader sort of community of users. We do see the question here from Dooku now, Brad. It's which components of the Salus initiative? Okay, please.
Yeah. So I'd actually invert my answer if I can. The Salus software as a service offering incorporates Primero as a core element, right? So it has some additions to Primero, particularly as of now around the configurations that are available to clients. But it is essentially a large part of it is Primero, right? Because it's a case management platform, it's an incident management platform. We use it in both contexts. We have, you know, what's different, you know, what Salus is the infrastructure, the configurations, and in the longer term, there could be some add-on elements, add-on components that further enhance the Salus stack. But a large part of it today is Primero, and that's why we have such a close working relationship with UNICEF around Primero as a digital public good.
Thanks, Brad. We have one more here from Ali about what Salus thinks about integrating AI into social service information management systems and where might that work. I know that you had an example that you were going to share. Maybe you can bring that to the table here.
Sure. I think I want to first echo your comments up the chat, Robert, that there are, you know, we're very methodical and very careful about how AI might be introduced into CPIMS Plus / Primero. You know, I think that there are gates that we have to get through in terms of thinking through the rules that we want to implement around disclosure of the use of AI or where it's used in the product. So any of my suggestions here, we're still working on some of these issues, right? So that is an important caveat that I think I want to share with everyone before you feel like they're something's coming tomorrow, right? But one of the features, there's two features that we've been working on, both with one on our own and one in some work that we've been doing with Mercy Corps, an important NGO. The first one is case summarization. So taking either an interview or some notes and having an AI-generated case summary. We view this as a potential labor-saving process so that the caseworker doesn't have to reread their notes, reread the interview, and create their own narrative. We think it's important that the caseworker, case manager, validate that because we wouldn't want the AI-based or AI-generated summarization of those case notes or interview to be inaccurate or misleading in any way. But we think it could be an important way for them to save time doing something and free up that time to spend with engaging with the beneficiary, right? So that's one suggestion that we're thinking about in terms of the overall roadmap. The other one is more of what I'd call a knowledge management tool, similar to what Ian and Alwyn presented, and we had been working on this with Mercy Corps, is to enable a Primero user to ask a question and then get a generated narrative answer back, plus links into the appropriate support or other documentation. So a very similar process to what is on the Support Hub, and probably much more oriented around best practices for the use of Primero, and potentially best practices for case management. And that's where we're sort of really thinking through carefully, like what is the source of some of those best practices? We know that it is not the web in general, because I think that leads to hallucinations and wrong answers from an AI knowledge management tool. But we think that if we have a very controlled information space, such as curated, validated documentation around how to do case management, that's going to be potential. So this is why this is still in process, because these questions are difficult and the answers we want to be very considerate about.
Thanks a lot, Brad. That was fantastic. I'm glad everybody got to understand a little bit the flavor of this partnership. It certainly has generated a lot of buzz and interest at UNICEF headquarters. And thanks to Brad for coming and talking to us all. We're going to move now to the final presentation in our session on partnerships. So we've had lots of variety in this one. I'm really excited to invite Brandon McNally to join us from the Norwegian Refugee Council. Brandon's going to talk to us about the newest sibling in the Primero family, the Protection Case Management Information Management System. Brandon, are you there with us?
Hi, Robert. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and pull up your slides, and you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks a lot. All right, well, you pull it up. I can go ahead and introduce myself anyways. Hey, everyone.
Yes,
so my name is Brandon. I am the protection specialist for the Norwegian Refugee Council in Palestine, covering both Gaza and the West Bank. So I'm going to share with you today the first pilot for Protection Case Management, or PCM IMS Plus, which we launched earlier this year. If you can go to the next slide, Robert. So unsurprisingly, we launched a pilot in order to professionalize and unify the protection case management system we use. Before Primero, our our case management data and information lived across, I'm sure you can imagine, Excel sheets, different formats, different files on different computers. And obviously this limits our ability to ensure confidentiality for our clients, the safe storage of data, as well as coordinated supervision of all the cases. It also made it difficult for caseworkers and their supervisors to see a full picture of their caseload. So we're happy that Primero provides a solution that brings everything together in one secure encrypted platform that we're able to align with NRC's own protection framework. So it allowed us to standardize our assessments, the action plans, follow-ups, and referrals. And importantly, it greatly enhances the safety and the confidentiality of our clients. So we began the pilot in the West Bank, specifically in 3 governorates I've marked there in orange dots. Those are Tokorum, Nablus, and Hebron. So our next major milestone will be the rollout in Gaza. Preparations are already underway and will be our priority in early 2026, hoping the ceasefire continues to hold. Next slide, Robert. All right, so NRC is the main agency here, obviously. And yours truly is serving as the system administrator. It's been a very fun role to learn how to maneuver and configure the Primero system. And I heard Megan got a big shout out in the last one, but we'll give her another big shout out. Megan O'Brien is from IRC, also ran a consultancy and delivered the training to our team and the onboarding for our rollout. Our staff have actually consistently said it was one of the best trainings I've ever had. So if you have the chance to work with Megan, definitely take it up. She's fantastic. She's also been very pivotal in providing ongoing troubleshooting and configuration refinements and guiding us on best practices as we've been aligning the Primero system to the global protection case management forms and framework. Also, thanks to the Primero team and UNICEF for hosting PCM IMS Plus, providing us with technical oversight. At this stage, NRC is the only agency in Palestine using Primero for the PCM IMS Plus. But as our team's capacity and confidence grow, and as the configuration becomes more tailored to the operational context, our next ambition is to bring partners into the system. During the consultancy process, Megan configured the global case management forms, which we've slightly adjusted to our workflow in Palestine, worked with us on translating the entire interface into Arabic, and guided the testing for all user roles in the initial rollout. So for caseworkers, supervisors, coordinators, MEL staff, focal points, and system admin. Since going live in July, we've been continuing to refine the configuration and improve the usability and constantly adjust the workflows based on real-time learning. Next slide. So in this configuration, we had obviously the risk assessments I think we're all familiar with, action plans, referrals, safety planning, supervisions, as well as we've adapted the system to work for our individual protection assistance in NRC or IPA. This is a rapid short-term assistance to support acute needs. We were able to train the different user groups, caseworkers and supervisors, MEL and information management, and system admin. And we were able to do all of this through hands-on simulations and mentoring. This significantly improved the uptake and the confidence of our staff. Next slide. Through the consultancy, and I promise this is the last on the consultancy, we came up with 4 key deliverables. Obviously, the first is the live instance, which went up in July. The second is a set of user guides for caseworkers and supervisors. We have another manual designed for the system administrator for ongoing maintenance. And these materials have been standardized in their training forms for future rollouts. Next slide. So under protection case management, I'd like to share a little bit about the kind of cases that we're supporting in Palestine and how this complements rather than competes with any child protection or GBV case management systems. So in Palestine, we focus on conflict-related protection risks. Some of these include, for instance, the survivors of detention and torture during the initial ceasefire in January, as well as the most recent ceasefire. There was large numbers of detainees who were released. We've been supporting them as they reintegrate back into the situation, for instance, inside Gaza or in the West Bank, and supporting them to find their families, get access to essential services. Yeah, some of them were arrested and hadn't seen the exact extent to which the conflict had impacted their communities, and their homes no longer exist. So how do they access basic services and shelter, for instance? Some other types of people we support are the victims of military or settler violence. This could include severe cases such as individuals who've been used as human shields, or individuals whose homes have been attacked or confiscated by settlers. We also support individuals impacted by family separation, focusing on adults, not for children. So for instance, when a household is forcefully displaced and a spouse has been arrested. We also are helping individuals with life-changing conflict-related injuries, such as amputees. And finally, people with mobility challenges, particularly those who must relocate due to displacement orders or imminent military operations. So these cases, I think, can demonstrate the added value of protection case management, addressing serious conflict-related harms while ensuring that as we identify child protection and GBV risks with individuals, we make the appropriate referrals to our CP and GBV partners. Next slide. All right, so some of the lessons we've learned about launching Primero. The most strong lesson in the rollout was the importance of iterative testing. So we're not treating the system as something static. It's something that we test each form, each workflow, and the reports that we generate on a repeated basis with the team. It's a process that's ongoing, but it's useful because it allows our caseworkers and our supervisors to see the feedback that they're providing reflected in the working version immediately. This has helped to build ownership and confidence in using the platform. The second lesson was the impact of the Arabic localization. Translating the interface into Arabic significantly increased user comfort and comprehension amongst our caseworkers. Third, we see clear value in interactive trainings. So rather than long theoretical sessions, what we do is run live simulations and practical exercises for our staff. The hands-on approach has helped to reduce the onboarding time. It allows new users to understand the logic of the system, and they can start working in Primero quite quickly. Another key learning was the need to adjust user role permissions, carefully, of course, specifically for our IM or information management staff. They were used to, in the past, having full data sets in Excel. Well, now under Primero's design, it restricts their access to ensure confidentiality. So now we're striking the right balance on how do we ensure the protection principles, as well as the operational requirements. How can we make sure that our information management staff have access to the data that they need for our internal and external reporting without compromising case level privacy? Finally, we recognize that ongoing configuration is essential. It's not a set once and forget kind of system. It needs continuous refinement as our workflows evolve. So regular configuration updates help to maintain the full adaptation in our context and continue strengthening the capability of our users over time. Next slide. All right, so the challenges and the solutions that we've got in progress. The first is around NRC's internal referral system. Our referral form templates don't align with the structure of Primero's referral export. So as a result, our staff are currently seeing some duplication in their work, having to complete the Primero with it referral, as well as our own internal referral forms. So we would like to see the system eliminate kind of double work, and something we're going to explore further on how to bring some synergy between these two. Related to that is our second challenge around sort of the way data is structured. We learned and realized that, for instance, in Primero, the automatically generated demographics, such as age, differ from those we use in NRC's internal reporting framework. While this initially created a mismatch between the data we export from Primero and what's required by our own MEL team, we've now been able to find workarounds by adjusting the user roles and the exports that we use. But this does highlight the importance of aligning our system configurations with our own organizational reporting logic. Related to that, we have some constraints in terms of generating external reporting products, such as our visuals, like snapshots or updates of our programs. Obviously, Excel, everything being in a chart, made it quite easy to generate graphics. However, with Primero, we've had to figure out how do we modify these different role-based users to allow our IM staff to extract the necessary fields. This also means that the caseworkers need to input data into the specific fields consistently so that exports can be clean and usable for analysis and communication products. Another challenge we have is the workflow itself. For instance, Primero's follow-up scheduling function wasn't immediately intuitive for all of our caseworkers. People would like to record a follow-up after they've done it, as opposed to schedule it ahead of time and then click that it's been completed. Finally, we're currently operating in a siloed NRC instance. While we think this was necessary for our testing and for our rollout for the first PCM IMS Plus instance, we'd like to see this interconnected even with other GPV and CP modules. So we'd like to explore in the future how we can move together and do this to enhance some efficiency and case tracking across our partnerships. That's all for me. I'm open to have some questions if anyone has any.
Very exciting stuff. I am going to, oh, look at that. We have a hand up from our friend Ranjini. Ranjini, come on in. I don't know if I have to unmute you. Come on in and ask your question, please.
Thank you so much, Robert, and thank you, Brendan, for that exciting presentation. I'm very shocked also to learn that Primero for adult case management is functional and working in for OPT for both West Bank and Gaza. And as you know that we have been implementing child protection case management CPMS Plus both in Gaza and West Bank, and we did make the presentation yesterday. Very interesting to know, because we really need to have an internal coordination to really understand the number of partners or your partners and who are really working on this adult Primero, and how we can actually ensure that children cases are not registered there in this platform, and caseworkers, because we do understand the level of stress and anxiety and the workload that caseworkers are going through, to kind of have that understanding how we wanted to make sure that we are not overwhelming with caseworkers if they are same caseworkers with two different tools. It's very, very good to see that it is something is happening, but very, very shocked as well, because we are not completely aware, because we are full-time on board on the ground. This is new to us. Over to you, Brendan. Robert.
Sure. Thanks, Ranjini. Yeah, apologies that it hasn't come through. We're the first instance of PCM IMS Plus going live globally, so we were just sort of working out the nitty-gritty details. And it's only being used so far in West Bank as we look to explore and expand now into Gaza. But definitely in terms of when it comes to child protection, we still employ the same standards that we used previously. We don't record any child cases in our system. If we identify any child cases, we refer them on to the CP actors in the West Bank or in Gaza. So we're only using it for sure for the cases that we're logging and providing case management to. But definitely, let's touch base, if you'd like, about how we can maybe link, and especially as we move forward, we want to explore how can we make these linkages between the Primero modules within Palestine.
It's an interesting dynamic, and we have a long history of this sort of how we coordinate implementations when they're in the same geographic or programming context. Another example of this is the UNRWA implementation. So UNRWA is using Primero in 5 different sites, including West Bank and Gaza, and this also raises the same question. You know, we do have a global level, a technical level coordination committee where we deliberate and talk about these things. And so, for example, we have Leah from NRC previously. I don't know who's going to be joining those going forward, but there to talk about this and make sure that we're communicating through all the sort of global partners of Primero about these field level implementations. The idea being, yeah, we want to, wherever we can, we want to make sure we're addressing issues of overlap or duplication. And the idea is to keep coordination and at the very front of what we're doing. Awan's come in with a question and he has his hand up. Why don't you ask directly, Awan?
Yeah, so I was very curious. This is a very different kind of question than the much more programmatic and operational question. But you were sort of implying or talking about how you were making very frequent changes to your configuration. And I was wondering, you know, when we've done that in the past, and we have, sort of doing migrations, it's very easy to add something, but it's very, very hard to take it away, or to change the format that a particular part of a form is collecting information in. And I was wondering if you know, had any learnings if you are doing these very frequent changes about that particular issue, or perhaps you haven't encountered it.
Luckily, I haven't had to take anything away yet. I know Megan has given me a very, very firm warning that nothing can really get taken away. It can just be hidden. So that's something very much drilled into my brain. And most of the changes we're using now are honestly around about workflows and user access. And so, for instance, the role that our IAM officers play is a lot different than what the kind of access they had originally. And so this has been a big one in terms of how do we export and how do we document the data correctly in an open field text box. So it's become very clear in terms of automatically setting the pre-described options, but then in terms of being able to export data and such in different ways, has been a bit trickier for us. And so we're very used to the kind of visuals we like to make and how do we present our work to the donors, and how do we find a way to be able to take the information from Primero and export it in a way that is effective and user-friendly for us. This has been where I think a lot more of the work has come from, and then making some slight adjustments in terms of the way that the forms are laid out and whatnot. So it's luckily I haven't had to take anything away yet. So
cool.
I don't have anything.
That's just my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, you're getting to be a real pro system administrator over there. The PCM IMS is such a new. We use a lot of language kind of to define technical elements of the work that we should probably take the time to explain. This is a new baseline, so it's a new configuration. It's something that when we ask Primero, we say we need a new PCM IMS, it comes packaged with a specific configuration. And then the work that you're doing on top of that to contextualize and localize, that's on top of a baseline. The GBV IMS and CP and MRM IMSs, their baseline has changed many, many times over the years, so that what you get fresh out of the box, as it were, in a new implementation is different. And this hasn't happened for PCM IMS yet, but this likely will, with use and with more understanding of how to implement it. And you said you're developing guides and training materials. There will be feedback that we'll gather to say, you know what, it's time to update the baseline. From now on, instead of starting with this configuration, we're going to start with a slightly different configuration. And that's just a natural part of the evolution of these tools. But I think it's a really exciting development for us because we literally have had the same 3 modules for 10 years. So this is now a 4th module. As far as the conversations that we've had at the global level around this, there's always some apprehension about introducing something new. How is it going to impact, or what's the effect going to be on those existing implementations and modules and the teams that manage them? But we have to remember that this is a digital public good, and it's been designed to provide as much value as possible in the sector as we can. And so there's this natural alignment and affinity with the work that you're doing. So very happy to have the protection case management module now out there in the world. We're talking about subsequent implementations already. So very, very excited to have this new partnership developing with Norwegian Refugee Council. We are at time. I'm going to give it one more minute in case, Brandon, you have any final comments or anybody else has any final questions? No? Great. Keep up the fantastic work. It's obviously a very, demanding context. So our thoughts are with you on all of that, and keep up the good work. Colleagues, I'm quickly going to summarize what we've talked about in this Partnerships for the Future session. 4 very different types of partnerships, very different flavors with different dimensions and different implications. So we started, and we were looking at a very, very unique and new type of partnership in the Unicare platform. Unicare is a community feedback and complaints mechanism. So unlike Primero, typically where only credentialed users can input data into the system, we now have channels that allow us to have feedback loops with the community and with non-credentialed users, whether those are members of our community, they could be parasocials, they could be, and really the interesting thing there is the level of accountability that allows us to introduce into the Primero ecosystem. We also had a presentation from Mamadou, who's been working in Liberia and looking at this, I think basically with the tools that we already had in the toolbox, making a very complex relationship much simpler. In the past, and this was a part of the original Primero business case, in the past, almost every service and every sector had its own data system or its own way of managing data. And the promise of Primero in the very beginning was to bring that together on a common platform. And Mamadou's just given us a really fascinating example of how that type of partnership can be serviced. Then we heard from Brad and Salas in our public-private contribution in kind partnership. And I think what's fascinating about this, and what I hear most often from people when I talk about it, is this sort of reaction is very often, what do you mean? You're giving Primero away, you're letting a company use Primero and sell Primero? Well, there are a few things to consider there. First of all, Primero is an open source platform, and all of the components that we use to build Primero, we didn't build those components. We're borrowing them from other open source communities. So it's very much in our DNA and in our philosophy. And the second is that it's a part of our digital public good strategy. It's about serving as much public good as possible. And third, it's great for the sustainability of Primero. And we encourage this type of marketplace development and private sector engagement because it's good for our product and it's good for the people that our product is serving. And then finally, we heard from Brandon from the Norwegian Refugee Council. Not only is this a really fantastic organization that does amazing work all over the world, it's a great new addition to the family in the PCM IMS, and it gives us a whole new set of options for how we integrate and connect and provide services to a broader cohort and do that in a very coherent and safe and secure way. So huge thanks to all the presenters for stepping up and sharing and offering to answer our questions. All of this is being recorded and the content will be shared back. I took several notes over the course of this session for things that I want to add to that whiteboard. For example, we have a couple of features that just came up as of interest. I heard at least a couple in the chat and in the questions. The internal coordination piece that Ranjini raised, we can do more there. We can build processes. We can build communication requirements into our onboarding, which I think is a great idea. I had lots of ideas over the course of the last hour and a bit. So we're going to wrap this session up. We're a little bit late, but not terribly late. So as we promised, we're going to give everybody a break now. When we return, I'm just going to share the agenda so everybody's looking at it as I do. When we return, we're going to jump right into a session on this is where I want it to be. Teams just is very messy. Go away. There. When we come back, Jan is going to take us through a session on how we can squeeze more value out of our configurations and make them better for users. So she's a master of this. She and Jack are going to take us through a session on that, followed by a session on integrations, and then a little bit of a workshopping session at the end of the day. So for now, I am going to free you for the next 15 minutes. We'll come back in 15 minutes. In the interim, I really would recommend, if you have ideas, get them onto the whiteboard or into the chat so we can document them. And just to give people some entertainment while we are enjoying our break, a coffee, whatever, I'm going to put on another video from last year's meeting. And perhaps some of you that attended or watched those meeting proceedings will remember this fellow. His name is Jeremy Hopkins. He's the Deputy Regional Director in the UNICEF East and Southern Africa office. And he gave a really excellent interview with our colleague Nikolai. I'm going to play that for you while we take a 15-minute break, and I will see you back here. Watch me set it on my timer. 15 minutes sharp. Go. Enjoy your break.
Rob, I'm not sure if you're sharing. Let me know if not working on your side.
A significant and important part of UNICEF's work is responding to rights violations around protection issues. So that's the right to be free from violence, discrimination, exploitation, neglect. Primero is an important component of the child protection response in any given context, in the sense that it allows us to gather and understand the data related to child protection violations and do proper case management, which is an essential part of a child protection response in any country.
And about this case management and how Primero helps, what's the most value you see of this tool for countries, for communities?
So if you want to get a handle on protection violations and manage cases, every child who is either a potential or actual victim of a protection violation needs solid and professional follow-up by social workers. There are, unfortunately, hundreds of thousands, not millions of protection violations that happen all around the world. And there are a limited number of social workers. And social workers need, therefore, to register and track every violation and every child who is vulnerable to be sure they can provide the right support. Now, if we don't have an efficient monitoring and information system that allows us to do that, the social worker spends his or her time on paperwork. Whereas actually what we need is a more efficient system of monitoring and tracking cases, which is what Primero offers. And then that allows the caseworker to do his or her job, which is responding to the needs of the children, of the vulnerable children, or the violations that may have taken place or for which the child is at risk. Now, I think what is the biggest challenge is, of course, scale. Such an investment is expensive. It is not just about the software and the tablets and the data bundles, it's also about the capacity of the social workers. And the social workers are the backbone of a child protection system. So if we want to invest, we need to invest considerably and over time in such information management systems in Primero. And right now we have more than 60 countries who have taken that step. The Primero offers a quality system that then allows social workers to do their job. And we'd like to see this at real scale, which means reaching millions and millions of children and accessed by hundreds of thousands of social workers.
And you said considerable investments. And can you compare a little bit other governments, because you know how they're working, how they invest in helping the people, and compare this to this system? Maybe you can give some examples and to see the scale, like this percentages, I don't know, invest in a hospital or something like this. And this is how much about percentage, let's say?
Well, I mean, the investment that is required per capita, per child, is small.
Yeah.
So that's a good point that you make. But the investment in the whole of the child protection system needs to be greater. And we see the budget lines that governments allocate to different sectors, and the child protection social sectors always fall short of what is needed. So it is important that governments budget for information management systems and for child protection systems. Primero is a small part of that. And then what's important for government is that the Primero system is interoperable, can link to and talk to the other information management systems that will necessarily exist in any country. And as we go forward in this digital age and rapid digitalization, which is the priority of most governments, we need to ensure that Primero is able and ready to connect to the bigger digital systems.
And doesn't UNICEF help somehow empower these countries or these governments in using these kind of tools?
So UNICEF's mandate is to assist governments to meet their obligations to children and child rights. That is the Convention on the Rights of the Child. So in this particular case, what we're talking about as our core mandate is to strengthen the government's ability to manage the information around child protection case management. And that is our absolute fundamental mandate to provide the support. So what we will do in any given country, and we talked today about Ethiopia and Eritrea and Eswatini and Somalia and Somaliland, South Sudan, many countries in the region, we will be working with the ministries of social affairs or whichever ministry is handling child protection to strengthen their social workforce and give the social workforce the tools they need to track the information so that they can do their job properly. And that is what Primero is. It is a tool and a system and a database, but so much more, for those social workers to be able to do their job.
So can these representatives contact UNICEF to request some help in this order? How the process works?
I mean, in any given country, UNICEF is present in some shape or form, and in this region, East and Southern Africa, we have substantial presence, and we are there at the invitation of government. So any actor, whether it's government or non-government, who is interested in looking further at Primero and understanding better how it can support the case management systems that they will be running, should absolutely approach child protection colleagues or the representative of UNICEF in any given country or the regional office here in Nairobi. And we'll be able to take them through the steps of what it involves, what the investment is, and what the process is to join. But it's something we would very much welcome to roll out in all countries that are interested in professionalizing their social workforce and ensuring their social workforce has the information management system that can help them to do their job correctly.
Do they need an IT department or social workers need to know IT or something like this?
No, I mean, in the same way that you and I will use computers to do our work, so will a social worker be able to use a tablet or some sort of software to do his or her work. It's not she or he is not going to need to be an IT expert at all. And in fact, the Primero system is very user friendly, and it's been designed for any level of, let's say, digital literacy. But you will simply need to kind of take on a basic package of training that will help the social workers understand how to use the system and then make it work for them.
And yeah, I saw some statistics. You presented it, and a lot of social workers from a lot of countries are using. So this confirms it's not a barrier.
It's not a barrier. I mean, the purpose of Primero is a simple technology. Well, no, I should say the purpose of Primero is a simple system that is tailored to the needs of social workers in any context. You need basic literacy. That's it. Everything else you can learn. You can orientate. You can be orientated, and in fact, the purpose of Primero is to enable social workers of any level of literacy or education to be able to access a database that works for them and a system that helps them do their case management.
And through these years, you saw maybe a couple of things what came out as a barrier to implement Primero in some countries. What are the top you are thinking maybe came up again and again and again?
I think the one challenge is where the data is stored and where the system is stored. So some countries, for reasons of sovereignty or for reasons of preference, would prefer a database and the system to be housed in country.
And it's possible.
And it's absolutely possible. The
UNICEF...
default is the cloud, but UNICEF has made available different options. So those countries who prefer to have the database locally and the information locally may do so. That's absolutely, that challenge has been overcome, let's say.
And
I think,
and UNICEF doesn't have access to the data.
No, the data regulation is extremely strict. UNICEF doesn't access the data. No, it's just that it has to be housed in a cloud, especially when it was being started. So, but now any country can choose the option of access according to their own regulatory framework.
Okay.
And I think a second challenge, and for me this is the more exciting one going forward, is the interoperability. So every country is in some way is digitalizing, is going through a big digital awakening or digitalizing their systems. And we need to ensure that Primero can interoperate, if that is a verb, but can connect to the bigger systems that will be in place in any given country. And
so
I
they
think,
can communicate with our IT systems in the country.
yes. So if the government of a given country has a one-stop kind of platform for that includes, all digital information for each citizen, how can we ensure that it interacts with this very specific, tailored case management, information management system? And it's possible. It's absolutely possible. But I think that then there's probably more work to be done there, and that's probably what the future of Primero will look like: is how to ensure that we do that in the smoothest way and in the most efficient way.
And third one?
I don't have a third one. I'm super excited about Primero. I really like what it stands for. I think if you like the challenge moving forward is about scale. We are reaching, what is it, over 1 million children, over 15,000 caseworkers, but we need to reach hundreds of thousands of caseworkers and hundreds of millions of children through this.
How usually a country starts? With a small team of 10 people, 3 people, and scale to hundreds and thousands?
I don't know.
Okay.
No. I haven't been involved in Primero till this last week.
Okay.
So I can't tell you that. I could make it up, but it's better to get it from someone else.
Sure. So, yeah, thank you for
all right, pleasure.
this interview, and I hope it will help other people to use it. And
I hope so. It's really, it seems like an excellent piece of work.
Everyone will get started in about 2 minutes. Just wanted to give you the heads up.
Hint, hint. Here we are. We're back. That was a full 15 minutes, just in case there are any doubters. Handing over to Jan for her session on user experience and data quality.
Thanks, Rob. Hi, everyone. Hope you had a good break. I definitely know I needed it. It's hard to sit behind a computer screen for this long, and really do appreciate you all bearing with us with the virtual meeting, but feels like it's going really well. I'm really excited to be presenting with my colleague Jack, who's actually going to start us off on this presentation, where we're going to be talking about user experience, which is what we call UX, and data quality. So I'll just hand over to Jack to kick us off.
Sure. So I really like this quote. Jan found this. We encounter this all the time when we are working on new features or we are doing configurations for Primero. Because if something really takes a long time to explain in the trainings, that means that we may have done it wrong, right? And this is really obvious when it comes to a feature, like if you are assigning cases or if you're doing approvals or you're looking at a notification. But what we often forget is that so much of that is actually controlled by the configuration. And if you're talking about those alerts, the question is, what form are those alerts showing up on? If you're talking about tasks, the question is, okay, well, how do I make it obvious that this is how I create a task for an assessment or a case plan? Same thing for approvals. There's a ton of configuration that happens around that. So I think I kind of already talked about number one here. Or sorry, I'm looking at number two. In terms of quality outcomes, we have built this platform with a set of tools that are intended to let caseworkers do their work easily, and to make it really, really easy for them to keep track of all the work that they have to do. If they can't keep track of the work they have to do, if they're missing follow-ups, if they're missing certain milestones with their cases, then that is going to affect how those people are doing in the long term. That might translate into, reduced school attendance, or it might find its way into their psychological health. So basically, if we make it a lot easier for caseworkers to do their job through better UX, it is going to translate into better outcomes for those beneficiaries. The second one, like I said, we kind of already talked about this. So much of the user experience does have some level of control within the configurations, right? And so some of that is going to be stuff that a developer does, but a lot of it is just going to be administrators setting up forms and making those intuitive. I can say personally, with the work that we're doing with Salus, I have been doing a lot more form configuration work for our new clients. And it makes me think about this a lot because people will ask me questions in meetings when we were reviewing those configurations. And it has made me a lot more picky about the way I do these things. So I think we'll probably talk about that a little bit more. And that actually brings us into number 3, which is a lot of times it's not always obvious how to set up these configurations in a way that makes things intuitive for users. And so I think that's where the Primero team can step in and help with that, with guidance and with sort of specialized configuration changes where appropriate. I think probably next slide.